Okay.
All right. So the rest of this talk is going to be us focusing more on the beneficial side of viruses and the story of viruses that you don't hear on the news. So one reason why viruses are very beneficial to life on Earth and evolution is that they promote evolution by transporting genes. So we kind of talked about this earlier with lysogenic viruses, but virus genetic material has the ability to create new sequences in the gene pool, mix things up, which can lead to mutation, which could lead to an adaptation, which could lead to a whole species evolving to better suit their environment. This is most seen in horizontal gene transmission. This is a very simple model of both horizontal and vertical. But we can see that when a virus injects its genetic material into a bacteria, it can create a whole new set of genetic code, and that can be transferred through horizontal gene transmission to other bacteria in its population, which just creates this whole new array of genes. In mixing up genes is really important because it creates genetic diversity, which is one of the most important aspects of any population dynamic, as it can protect against diseases and other natural occurring phenomenon. Again, it creates mutations, inspiring the next line of evolution. So this is one way viruses are super beneficial. Another way, which was kind of mentioned a lot during the game, is that viruses have a big effect on population dynamics. One of this is by eliminating losers or different organisms that are not best suited for the environment or to protect themselves against viruses and other pathogens, and by enhancing biodiversity by restraining winners. So I think Dr. Field mentioned that kill the winner is a big theory. It's one of the fundamental theories of population ecology. So when one group of species has an evolutionary advantage, it could take over the entire environment. It could use up all the resources and not allow for any other species to thrive within a habitat. So when a virus comes in, it can completely wipe out this entire species. And this may sound negative, but it actually could help, as it opens up new niches for other species to come in and diversify. And again, diversification is like immensely important for any environment, as it creates a more resistant and strong place where it can survive through natural disasters, diseases, hunting, etc. And by eliminating the losers, it just speeds up evolution by making sure that organisms that are not best suited for the environment or for diseases can not pass on their genetic codes to future inheritance.
Okay, so this slide is also on our website with some text, and we're not going to put you all to sleep by going through every single part of this, but there are a lot of, the point we're trying to show is that there's a lot of different kinds of things that go on, and so it's a very interesting field for you guys to learn more about. So I think we'll go on another slide.
Yeah, so here's where my interest lies. So viruses are very populous and important within the marine habitat. So right here, we're looking at a fairly simple, believe it or not, food web, energy web within a typical marine environment off the coast. So one of the things I want you guys to focus on is this DOC line kind of in the right of the screen. So that's dissolved organic carbon that is from the surface, which is, whether it be detritus from plankton, other dead things, or feces, waste, which gets sunk down to the bottom of the ocean and sequestered. This is important because this is the carbon that, it could be the carbon that we release from our cars, factories, whatnot. It's that carbon that's being sequestered into the ocean floor. So how do viruses tie into this? So there's so many viruses in the ocean. That's one of the most populous places that they live. And viruses in the ocean mainly attack bacteria and some phytoplankton. So bacteria's role in the ocean, some bacteria's role in the ocean, is to take in nutrients that other organisms can't use and recycle them so that they can be used. and release them back into the ocean, or sequester them in their body so they can use it. So viruses, when they attack these bacteria and explode them, when all the new viruses are released, it releases all this stored up, usable nutrients into the environment. So instead of just sinking away and being used by something lower in the food chain, the nutrients can be re-released into the upper layers of the ocean, so that phytoplankton and other microorganisms can use it. And this is super beneficial because phytoplankton, as you guys may know, are like the plants of the ocean. They do photosynthesis, taking in carbon, producing oxygen. So if there's more nutrients in the water available for them, more phytoplankton can live at the surface. And more phytoplankton means more carbon sequestration and more oxygen production. So viruses can help create a more stable and welcoming environment for phytoplankton to live in. And I know that was a lot, so please let me know if you guys have questions. That was just the surface level dive into viruses' role in carbon sequestration.
Does anyone want to ask a question right now?
I think we're good. You guys can ask me after.
Okay. I don't want to give them 2 seconds and then by the time they get their microphone on, we said forget it. So we give you a few seconds anyway here. Okay, we're going to keep going. We're making great progress because we also we said 90 minutes, including questions and answers, and we are just approaching an hour. We started a few minutes late. So this was my chart because my original career as a physicist was related to optics and actually lasers, but everything optical and related to light is interesting to me. I gave my first global climate change talk at the Natural History Museum in Morro Bay State Park 18 years ago or something, I think. So we've been talking about this thing forever, and more talk than doing, unfortunately. So Elise mentioned the burying carbon. And so just wanted to touch briefly, you can look these things up on Wikipedia or all kinds of places. I think our website has this chart and can talk about it a little bit. But I just want to remind you that visible light from the sun goes through the atmosphere, absorbed partly by the atmosphere, absorbed partly by the land, partly by the ocean. Some of it's reflected by land or water. Some of it's reflected or scattered by the atmosphere. But what causes the global warming is when the surface is heated up, it radiates it as infrared, as a very long wavelength, and as heat waves, basically. And so that gets trapped in the atmosphere by what's called greenhouse gases, which are typically triatomic or bigger molecules like carbon dioxide, H2O, methane, a number of these things. And when they absorb, they re-radiate, but they re-radiate in both directions. And so some of it gets sent back to the Earth, warming the Earth some more. And so it goes kind of up and down until it finally gets out. So eventually all of it escapes. Whatever comes into the Earth eventually escapes, but only by elevating the surface temperature of the Earth enough to radiate enough to get through and escape our planet. So that's the process of greenhouse gases trapping heat waves and elevating the surface temperature. If you think it's scary here with climate change and so forth, imagine Venus, where the surface temperature is 700 and something Kelvin at the equator and at the North and South Pole, and all night long, and all night long is hundreds of days long and doesn't cool off. So it's mostly a carbon dioxide atmosphere, and it just traps the sunlight on it, even though Venus is surrounded by clouds and reflects more light than the Earth reflects with our clouds, but it still gets these insane, horrible temperatures. So you wouldn't want to live on Venus. People used to think that 50 years ago that beneath the clouds, maybe it was a nice, sunny, tropical climate. People, Venusians were running around enjoying the tropics, but you land a spacecraft there and it kind of melts in a matter of hour. So again, marine viruses are doing a great deal of contribution to assisting our planet's balance.
Yeah, so going back into that, viruses control the amount of carbon dioxide that the ocean can sequester. And the ocean being one of the biggest sinks on our planet, this is super important. And one of the ways this is directly beneficial is that it can reduce ocean acidification, which is a hot topic in scientific communities right now, and we hear it a lot in the news as well. So again, because viruses free up space and nutrients for more phytoplankton to live in the upper areas of the ocean, more carbon can be sequestered by the phytoplankton, which can be eaten by fish and other bigger fish until it gets sunken down into the bottom of the ocean where it's stored forever. But if viruses don't do this, or phytoplankton don't do this, we see a lot of ocean acidification, which is when there's high amounts of carbon, dissolved carbon into the ocean, which goes through a couple chemical reactions leading to bicarbonate formation. And this creates really dissolved, not strong cells. So these organisms like snails and snails, mollusks, and things that use calcium carbonate to form their shells, they only have this bicarbonate molecule to use, and which is not as strong, and their shells become dissolved and not good. So that could be a big problem that we're seeing in the future. But viruses do help this. There's been a couple papers released that say that viruses may have a hand in slowing down ocean acidification.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Are there any questions from the audience? Feel free to turn your mic on and ask questions. I'm going to give you some more information, and there's our link to our webpage. At the bottom of our webpage, after we talk about all the things we've said about beneficial viruses and evolution and biodiversity, we have another section where there's a way to take Wikipedia articles, if you don't know this, and save them as PDF files. It means that the PDF file doesn't get updated when the Wikipedia article gets updated. But I put dozens of these under the heading of Wikipedia articles on the website that you're welcome to download those and save to your computer and look at. And I've got some things from OpenStax, which are free textbooks that are very up to date. You can download in biology, and they have all kinds of subjects besides biology, but I've got the links to those. And at the very bottom of our webpage, we've got a couple of videos that we embedded from the Amoeba Sisters. And they are nice little 5 or 10-minute videos that explain a lot of things. And if you've never found the Amoeba Sisters, one sister, they actually are sisters. One of them is a biologist and one of them is an illustrator. So together they put together these really fun and educational on many, many topics. But I put 2 of them on our webpage that talk about viruses in the immune system. And these are the headings on our website. And each of these things in here are accordions, and you click on them and it opens up. And in those, you can see all of our pictures and text that Elise did most of the writing for. And all of the things we've talked about are in here for your use. And that's just our summary of what we were doing, and a more detailed summary. I don't think I should tell you the same thing 400,000 times. So I'm going to stop that sharing. And the good news is we still have 154 people here. The peak I saw was 156. So I think you've been a fantastic audience. You've stuck with us for all this. I know your lives have changed due to the pandemic, and you're spending an awful lot of time looking at computer screens. And so I really appreciate the fact that you were willing to give us an hour or so of your time. And we're going to hang out here. I'm going to do one more quick share since we finished so well. I'm going to just go to the website very quickly. If you click on that link, this is what you're going to see, my cosmic evolution. And this is our virus page. This is a video that Elise and I made a while ago that's embedded in here from my YouTube channel, which I have also, and a little GIF I made showing some of these. And all, as I said, all these things open up, and you've seen these pictures before, and we've written a lot of material or paraphrased from other sources. And so that's all in here for you to review if you so choose. And again, at the bottom, we got our little Amoeba Sisters. And we also have a homepage where we talk about all kinds of things, including talks we gave in the past. Last year's talk by Raja Guha from Santa Cruz. We have, this is all work in progress. We got the whole universe here. We've got solar system. We've got the Earth and geobiosphere. This I took at Coralina Cove out at Montana de Oro. If you have the sun behind you, you don't get reflections. It looks like there's no water, but it is. I was standing on the edge of the tide pool. And there's other embedded videos in here, origin of life, all kinds of stuff. And if you're interested in brains and tools, that's my example of brains and tools. I recorded this. I gave a talk as a research scholar a couple of years ago, Prove You're Not a Robot, talking about everything from artificial intelligence and free will and consciousness. And there's a 30-minute video. If you want to play that under brains and tools, you can do that. The only warning I'll give you is I was speaking into a really bad microphone, very slowly and distinctly, and there's a danger that my monotone will put you to sleep. It's only a half hour, but you might hit your head on the keyboard as you're watching. So try to get your coffee in place if you watch that one. So that's our Cosmic Evolution website. And here we are. If anybody, I'm going to stop recording now. I can figure out how to do that. There it is.